Good afternoon, everyone. Please don't expect me to sing while I'm up here. Independence High School did a great job. Thank y'all for coming. My name is Austin Mowell, and I'm a high school senior representing the Lewisburg chapter of Rotary International. As we progress in time as a society, we continue to lose focus on the moral principles that built our society. Fortunately, these same moral principles that seem irrelevant to the mainstream world are upfront and cherished by Rotary clubs across the globe, including the many represented in this audience today. In order to be accepted as a member to a local Rotary club, Rotary International requires that he or she memorize and live by the Rotary International 4-way test. The 4-way test is merely 4 simple, yet direct questions. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? These questions seem rather ordinary at first glance. However, these questions carry powerful meaning into our everyday lives. Just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, what our world would look like today if everyone operated their lives on the basis of the Rotary International 4-way test. To start, because of the first question posed on the Rotary International 4-way test, the amount of criminal cases would diminish significantly because criminals would naturally feel more obligated to tell the truth when asked if they committed a crime. Citizens would follow the law set forth by the government, with the government even following restrictions set forth by its citizens. Criminal fraud would be non-existent, deception frowned upon. In addition, honesty and integrity would skyrocket, with the need for law enforcement plummeting, since there is no such thing as an honest crime. The second question posed in the Rotary International 4-way test would weaken the role of our government back towards the principles that founded our nation, since everyone would feel more obligated to be fair to all concerned. Politicians would be held more accountable for their actions, with the amount of government fraud non-existent. Everyone able, aside from the elderly and the youth, would be asked to pay taxes, regardless of income level. The government will merely employ a flat tax rate that all would be expected to pay, making the IRS unnecessary. Additionally, the need for government to be aggressively involved in the everyday lives of its citizens would also lessen because the constituents of the government would play a more active part in their communities, just as many of you in the audience already do today. Now, thirdly, due to the third question posed in the Rotary International 4-way test, people would be friendlier, more concerned about the well-being of others than their own well-being, focusing on building strong first impressions of themselves through their actions rather than appearances. People will be more focused in competing in a realm of good deeds and merit than through showmanship and attributes. Charity sport will be at an all-time high, pessimism at an all-time low. Neighborhoods will be safer, streets less crowded with wrongdoers. Finally, the workforce would also be less complicated due to the final question posed in the Rotary International 4-way test. Employers would focus less on bottom lines and more on employee satisfaction. In the same instance, employees would want to please their bosses more, focusing less on salary and benefits in line for personal satisfaction. Workers and owners unions would no longer be necessary because all sides would be interested in what's most beneficial for all. In particular, the amount of employee turnover from profession to profession will be negligible because all sides would be interested in staying with the status quo. Thus, in closing, no one in this room would argue with me in regards to the fact that the world will be a much better place if everyone operated their lives on the basis of the Rotary International 4-way test. So why don't we as a society adopt the Rotary International 4-way test? This goes back to my statement I made in the preface with regards to the fact that our society has lost touch with the moral principles that built our society. Evil and sin will always be part of our everyday lives. Don't get me wrong, we've all experienced this. Even God realizes this, because without the ability to learn from that evil and to learn from that sin through free will, we cannot possibly have a meaningful relationship between Him and His creation. Therefore, if this is valid, what can we do to help minimize evil in our society, help minimize sin in our society, and help shed light onto the Rotary International 4-way test? Eric Buttersworth answers my question to perfection, saying, don't go through life. Grow through life. Thus, rather than just be tolerant of this evil and sinful world that sometimes dictates our everyday lives, work to improve our society by making the local Rotary clubs, such as the many represented in this audience today, inclusive rather than exclusive. Work to invite people to join the cause for a better tomorrow today by taking the pledge of the Rotary International 4-way test. Thank you. Thank you very much.